So how and what should you text a guy? Here are 5 questions I want you to ask yourself before you hit send. I'm dating coach Hayley Quinn, and I'm not really too keen on giving you cut and paste scripts of messages to send to guys because ultimately I trust you. I think you're good as you are. You don't need to be parroting off a script to be attractive to a man. However, if you are conscious that you want to work on your messaging style to message a guy in a way that's naturally more creative and more attractive, hopefully these 5 questions will help to make sure that the messages you write are as good as possible. And by the way, ladies, if any of you have some gold dust messages out there that you'd love to share and you're okay to share with the community here, pop them in the comments below so that we can all learn from them together. So your first question I'd like you to ask yourself is, am I matching and mirroring his energy levels? Am I giving the same level of effort to him as he's giving to me? When you first meet someone, if you really click with them and really like them, on some level you might feel in a bit of a rush to get to the place where you're already comfortably in that relationship, where you're messaging every day, and that can sometimes lead to you outpacing him in terms of how you're messaging. It could mean that you're oversharing, contacting all the time because you just want to experience that bond and that connection. However, what can ultimately end up happening here is that there's no space for him to prove himself to you. It can instead come across like, regardless of what he's actually doing, that you've already chosen him. Likewise, we could go too far in the opposite direction. It can be equally disheartening for a guy to feel like he's trying to build a connection with you. He's trying to ask you interesting questions, to offer details about his life, and he's just getting one-word answers back, or that the answers that he's getting in return from you aren't creative and aren't equally invested as he is in the interaction. So the key here really is to think about mirroring. How can I mirror the rate at which he's messaging me? How can I mirror the effort that he's putting into his messages? How can I share a similar level of details about my life as he's sharing with me? This will mean that if you do have a guy who is trying to push that relationship forward, that you give it the best opportunity to flourish. If you feel that by mirroring that you're not able to express yourself and hang on a minute, you're not able to communicate as regularly as you would like, then this can also be a sign to you that perhaps you don't have that right level of compatibility with this guy. Perhaps you need someone who is naturally warmer and more communicative. My second question I'd like you to ask yourself is, am I allowing him space to come towards me? Just like I mentioned on my last point, if he feels like it's already a done deal and you've already chosen him as a potential boyfriend, without him really making those moves to impress you and win you over a period of time, it can kind of feel like he's got a big prize, but without actually having worked for it. And whenever that happens to people, it can feel disingenuous. Instead, it's usually much nicer to allow a relationship to develop really organically. He will also feel really good about himself if he does summon up the courage to send you a message or to invite you on a date and you're receptive to that. So it can be quite good for you, instead of thinking about how you can again race through the getting to know him period, to in fact just relax, sit back and get used to observing how he's interacting with you. That might mean that you make a comment like that you're looking forward to enjoying some sunshine this weekend, or that you'd like to do something creative over the weekend to have a break from work, or that you really want to up your picnic game. You can give him a really clear indication and hint about how you might like to spend time together, or you can really show that you'd be open to a date, but then give him that little bit of space where he can then step forwards, come up with a plan, and ask you out. Because if he does come up with a plan, he asks you out and you say yes, it's going to feel really nice and rewarding for him. So sometimes just giving him that little bit of maneuvering room where he has the space to make his moves, it can actually just feel quite nice for him. It doesn't mean that as a woman you're incapable of making your own plans. Of course you can, but it can be a nice experience for him to go through. And it can also mean that you don't over prioritize him too early on. You don't save that time on the weekend for him until you know you've got a plan. And instead you keep investing and prioritizing existing relationships in your life, whether that's friends, family, or hobbies and interests that you really enjoy. Question 3. Am I trying to indicate that I'm available for a last minute date if he happens to be around? Now, I know you're going to hate me for saying this, but I think there's a trade-off here where whilst it can be nice to be spontaneous and fun, I would check in with yourself as to where that spontaneity is coming from. Is it because actually, again, you're like racing to the end of the book? Are you rushing through the process of getting to know him? Did he make such a strong impression on you the first time that you meet that you want to see him again because you're excited by him and you want to meet him again as soon as possible? Have you chosen to ignore when he's next communicated to you that he wants to spend time together? And are you trying to show that you'd be free, well, anytime really, if he's around? Whilst it can feel romantic and exhilarating in the moment to have a last minute hangout, sometimes this doesn't really set you up well to make great decisions about who you're spending time with. Of course, if spontaneous fun is what you're going for and that's what's important to you right now, go for it. If, however, you're looking for more of a committed, serious relationship, you may just want to allow things to evolve at their own pace. Don't worry if it's been a couple of weeks in between seeing each other, or someone's got to go on holiday, or he's on a work trip this weekend, so can you shoehorn in seeing him this week? You need to start to instead to develop trust in yourself that you're awesome, you're attractive, you're amazing, and in his own space and time, he's going to make those plans with you. And if he doesn't, you will lose interest and find someone who will. So don't rush the process of getting to know him. Don't feel like if you don't see him for a week that he's going to forget all about you. Where's your self-esteem, woman? Instead, give it time and trust that he's going to make those plans with you, and don't keep offering up last-minute opportunities to hang out. Fourth question to ask yourself is, am I being playful? Everybody hates boring chat on a dating app. And it's just the same for him. He's going to be messaging multiple women. He may have been on those apps for quite a long time. And if he has another dull chat with you, it's going to be really hard for him to understand why you're special, why he should feel particularly excited about messaging you. So it should be really important to you that you start to create these points of difference around yourself, that interacting with you just feels different to how he's interacting with other people. And it should also feel that when he's interacting with you, that the tone isn't too serious. In fact, it's light and playful, because I think that's one of the best experiences we can have in the early stages of dating. It's a bit of a break from everyday life. It should feel fun. It should feel warm. It should feel playful. It should feel light. And it's playful and it's light because you don't have high expectations of the other person yet, because you don't know one another, because just being playful and light is just your vibe. Remember, if he interacts with you in a way where he sees that play, where he sees these points of difference, where you're avoiding those boring topics of small talk, it's also going to be way easier for you to stand out to him as a woman he should be interested in. If you want more advice on how you can develop a high confidence mindset when it comes to dating, please head over to hayleyquinn.com/real love. The link is below this bio, and I've got a free online mini course you can enroll in right there. So the fifth and final question I want you to ask yourself is, am I challenging him? Now, challenging him doesn't mean that you have to have a big argument about something, because remember, we're keeping it light and playful, but it does mean that at every stage of the interaction, you should still remain focused on who you are as an individual and how you like to get to know people and how you like to interact with them. This could be as simple as knowing what drink you want to order at a bar. It could be that you have a suggestion of something that would be cool to do as a date. It could be that you stand by your own opinions on things rather than just falling into agreement with him. Something that's really attractive to just everyone out there is someone who's got so much self-worth and so much self-esteem that they don't constantly collapse their boundaries and go along with what everybody else is thinking and feeling. The more you show that comfort within your own life, that you're happy and proud of what you're doing with it, that you've got your own hobbies, your own interests, your own opinions, the more attractive you're going to become.